Brad with College SportsCast. We are presented by the Fanboys. Hey guys, welcome back. Brad with College Sportscast. I have John Roberts with me right now. What's up, John?
What's happening?
We have another one that's trying to log on, but he's having a little issue trying to log on. So maybe we'll get Jason Harrison on with us here in just a few minutes. So I went ahead and went live with you guys. We appreciate you guys being on with us. We are going to be doing tonight, we're going to be doing our news and hot topics and segments show. Our segments this week is going to be breaking down the NCAA brackets, and then we might throw in a little baseball talk at the end of it as well. So, but that's kind of what I've got planned for this week, for tonight's show, I should say, instead of this week. But we want to welcome everyone in to College Sportscast. It's a big week. NCAA brackets came out on Sunday. March Madness begins tonight. Actually, I just finished watching the very first game, play-in game. Texas A&M Corpus Christi just beat Southeast Missouri from the OVC. 75-71. And it does look like Jason has hopped in with us, so I'm going to get him on now. Yeah, it does look like Jason's hopped in with us, so I'm going to get him on now. This is Jason Harrison with us now.
What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys?
I told him you had a little trouble logging in, but I told him we might get you on, so.
Yeah.
I was just talking about the very first game of the NCAA tournament just wrapped up, where Texas A&M Corpus Christi just beat Southeast Missouri from the OVC, 75-71. If you watched this game, it was pretty much a foul fest. It was crazy. I'd never seen.
They were playing hack and sack here.
Oh man, it was a foul fest. I'm not even kidding at all. So. I don't know if you didn't watch it, you don't know what I'm talking about, but it was the opening game for the NCAA tournament. It's the play-in games. These are being played in Dayton, Ohio. And this game was for the right to play Alabama, the number one overall team, on Thursday night. So congratulations, Corpus Christi. You won an NCAA tournament game. Now you get to play Alabama.
Grand prize, Alabama.
Yeah.
Not only that, but in Birmingham.
Right.
Birmingham, like,
yeah.
Man,
Yeah, the number one overall team.
Birmingham.
Speaking of Birmingham, that's where John Roberts is right now.
Hey.
Man, Birmingham is the hottest southern city in the country right now.
Yeah,
because he also has his Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, they get to play. I don't know how that worked out where they get to play as a 9 seed in Birmingham.
The committee knew what it was doing. If you
how do we draw a crowd?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. A 9 seed getting to play right close to home like that.
2 hours from home.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. Either it can be a weekend trip or it can be a down and back trip.
Yep.
You know?
I mean, exactly. I'm not saying that Auburn's definitely going to win the game because it's in Birmingham, but they do get an advantage over Iowa.
They do. Speaking of this game that just went off, now there were some questionable calls, especially the one down the stretch. The one the
it
last
was a foul fest, man.
Yeah, but I think Texas Commerce. I think they were the more aggressive team, flailing into the defenders. They
were.
But I think the officials that they called a little bit too tight. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
First game, You don't
some
want to.
hand checking and then just touch fouls and stuff. Some of it was a very tightly officiated game. That's for sure.
Very tight. It was like what is the 14-minute mark of the first half? They were already in a 1-1.
At the 12-minute
in the
and
second
something,
half.
they were already in the 10
double
like
bonus.
the double bonus.
Yeah. So I think the officials have to, they got to swallow the whistle, man. They got to let these guys decide the game.
I hope the whole tournament's not officiated that way.
If this next game is played in the same arena, it's going to be.
It is.
It's going because
is.
Pittsburgh and Mississippi State will be a
Pittsburgh and Mississipy State tonight. It should be a good game.
That would be a physical game, and I don't want to be sitting up to 11 o'clock watching this game. I don't.
It probably will be though.
I don't. Yeah.
All right, so let's get to some news from today. So the first thing I want to get to is the AP All-American team come out today. College basketball, first, second, and third teams come out today. And just kind of want to go through that with you guys. The first team is Zach Edey was the only unanimous choice to the team, period.
We surprised?
Zach Edey.
He was the only? B. Miller was not the only unanimous?
He was the only voted unanimous player to the team was Zach Edey from Purdue. Okay. Zach Edey, 7'4", the big guy in college basketball, from the number one overall seed, Purdue, and they're not the number one overall, the number one seed. I said that wrong. A number one seed, Purdue. Mm-hmm. And then the other players on the first team All-American were Trace Jackson Davis from Indiana, Jalen Wilson from Kansas, Marcus Sasser from Houston, and Brandon Miller from Alabama. That was the first team All-American team. So what do you guys think about those five on the first team All-American? Any surprises out of those five?
Not really. I think I could have been a little bit surprised about Jalen Wilson. I think Timmy could have been there. I think the kid from UCLA could have been first team, but I mean, I have no complaints overall about this first five. This first five is pretty good.
I mean, Brandon Miller being on there is a little bit of a surprise to me. Not really because of the basketball stuff. It's really about some of the other stuff that's went on. And
well, if you're gonna keep it basketball, he deserves to be on there. At the end of the day,
I mean, I agree. I do agree with you on that.
This is not it's not a behavior award. It's actually,
But sometimes those things keep you from getting stuff like that.
Well, I mean, look, if you really think about it, they took a while, but then they added him to the Wooden Award.
Yeah, they didn't even have him on the Wooden Award.
And so I think what happened was that I think that they basically made him sweat, not that it really
made
any big of a difference. Not that it really made any big of a difference.
But I mean, now that he's being named the first team All-American, I mean, he definitely has a shot. At the Wooden Award.
Yeah.
You guys,
you know what I mean?
You tell me a better individual player that has a bigger impact on his team besides Edey. I think he.
Well, I mean, all of these. Trace Jackson Davis carries Indiana. I mean, if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be anything.
I can agree. But
Marcus Sasser is
he's a dude.
Houston's assassin.
He's a dude.
I mean,
he's a dude.
Yeah,
he's a dude.
Sasser the assassin.
I just threw that out there.
Let's just go Sasser the assassin, Sassafras.
Sasser the assassin. That's right.
Sassafras.
Y'all I don't know. I just threw that out there. But anyway, so that's the first team. Second team, you have UCLA, Jaime. How do you say his last name? Is it Jaquez?
I want to say it. Yeah. I mean,
I think that's how you pronounce it. I always want to say it with a J, but I think it's the UCLA senior that's been there. He was in the Final Four a couple years ago. Second team also was Oscar Sheboy from Kentucky, which is interesting. He was the unanimous player of the year last year, and he's on the second team. Drew Timmy is on the second team from Gonzaga. And then Azulis, I don't know how you say his last name, but is it Tubulus from Arizona? I don't know how you pronounce his last name. And then the fourth one or the fifth one on the second team is Jalen Pickett from Penn State.
That's tough. I have to question, Oscar. I don't know if Oscar really deserves to be a second team All-American or an All-American at all this year.
I mean, he's averaged 16 points and 13 rebounds. How many players in your lifetime averages 13 rebounds in college basketball?
I will contribute that to a lot of bad shooting. No, seriously, I think he's a great talent, but I don't think he had the impact for Kentucky this year as he did last year.
I don't think so either, and he's on the second team and not unanimous first team like he was last year.
Yeah, so if you're going to hold someone to a standard, and he has set the bar for himself. You see what I'm saying? So what was his average last year? I think he almost averaged close to.
It was 17 and 15 last year, almost 18, 17 and a half and 15.
So you give me 18 and 15. So that means you had a couple 20 rebound games.
He did. A few of them.
So he was a monster this year. I mean, last year.
Yeah.
And I think he.
And this year he's about 16 and 13.
Yeah,
so
I mean, like I say, it ain't bad.
They're going to compare. Like when you have somebody that's going back-to-back years or something like that, they're going to always compare you to you last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So, I mean, that's why it's rare to see a back-to-back Heisman winner or something like that because, again, you're being compared to what you did the previous season. You're not going to.
It's hard to back that up too because they game plan against you and everything too. So
correct, and
that
you may
next
not
year
have the same team there with you,
right?
So.
Yeah.
So while, like a Tebow was so good in all 3 years, he never won multiple Heismans. He only won one,
One.
And
right.
the same thing for, Bryce Young. He only won one. So,
right.
I mean, so I just.
It's very difficult for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
So the same thing that would go with basketball, I would expect that you're not going to put up the same numbers back-to-back years, and that if you really good, and I'm just saying really, really good, then you're probably going to be, that's just probably going to be your ceiling right there. And then your next year, I mean, they're going to game plan, especially basketball, where it's 5-on-5, and really you can take a player out, as far as in basketball.
Well, they definitely have doubled and tripled team Oscar all year long.
Right. And just
all
harass them and everything like that down in the paint. That he's not putting up the numbers, whether it's the rebounds or the points or anything like that.
I think the main thing everybody did this year was attack him on the defensive end. When I understand the double team because Kentucky was atrocious with shooting early on.
Oh, yeah, they took him out. They took him out.
Yeah, they took him out. They
on
the pick and roll.
On the perimeter. On the perimeter on defense.
Made them guard.
They did.
Kentucky had a better defensive team last year. Then they started off with this year. Then they started off. I think, like you said, Calipari did a great job of, finally finding the right ingredients. And this is the funny part with Kentucky. And I know we're going to get off Oscar. Injuries helped Calipari find out who he could rely on.
Right.
Instead of depending on people who he thought he could depend on.
Yeah.
Like the little point guard. He thought he was really the answer at some time, but then he started to take a backseat to the other guys.
Right.
But with Oscar, I just think you could have had more freshmen.
So
more
the
freshmen.
third team AP, Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson, both from Kansas State, are on the third team.
Okay.
Tyler Kolek from Marquette is on the third team. Chris Murray from Iowa is on the third team. And Armando, I can't say his name, Armando Baquette from North Carolina is the big guy. And I just don't.
You see what I'm saying? So him and Oscar were being
They were
from last year.
way better last year. Yeah.
So how can you
Baquette from North Carolina? I mean, he's even further down than Oscar, if you ask me.
Man, you're exactly right.
But they put him on the third team.
Very unfair to me. Very unfair. I think if you're gonna put two guys from Kansas State on third team, you have to put other guys on who actually made the NCAA tournament and who teams were in the top 10 all year. I could go with multiple guys, especially this year. That could help. But I mean, hey.
So guess who the top vote getter was that did not make the first, second, or third team?
Whoa, he must be an honorable mention. Let me look at this list.
The top honorable mention guy was who?
Max Abrams.
Antoine Davis from Detroit Mercy.
That was my second choice. I was looking.
Antoine Davis from Detroit Mercy was the top vote getter that did not make the teams. He was the lead honorable mention guy.
So what is that? Y'all tell me what is that?
He averaged 28.3 points a game and got 3 points shy of Pistol Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record.
So if he's not going to make it, how do you put the kid from North Carolina on there? I think he should. I mean, look, you could have. I have a number kid. Max Abrams had a hell of a year this year. Tyree Appleby, Player of the Year in the ACC.
Yep.
Come on. Who else? Got a kid from Xavier's that's pretty good.
Well, Baquette is from the ACC too, so
So you're not going to put him in there, but you're not going to put the Player of the Year.
Yeah, that's right.
That's Yeah, I mean, who has the votes? That's who I want to see now. Who had the ability
to have the votes?
AP voters. This is AP voters.
That's what I'm saying. Even Wade Taylor. It's a lot of guys who had better.
Isaiah Wong from Miami.
Yep, Miles
out of the ACC.
Yep, Mike Miles from TCU. He had
Miles from TCU.
Yeah, the kid from Duke. So I mean, it's a lot of other people. Even Baylor could have one. But once again, you know how this thing goes. No one's ever going to be happy with all the selections. Someone's going to get left off. Someone's going to be,
And I just wanted it just come out today. It was hot topic for today, and I wanted us to at least go over it and talk about it. And those are the first team, second team, and third team AP voters, All-Americans for this year. So I wanted to discuss that a little bit tonight. And then we're going to move on to some coaching news. So there's several things going on. I'm going to start out with your school, man.
Hello.
I'm going to start out with your school, all right? Because Jason's Ole Miss ex-player, former player. So your school made a big splash.
Made a big splash.
They hired former Texas coach Chris Beard as Ole Miss head coach.
They did even had a press conference.
Ole Miss. I'm going to say this: Ole Miss has kind of been known to take a few chances, and I think they're taking a chance with Chris Beard. Chris Beard is one heck of a coach, and I think he is going to be a huge bonus for the SEC for Ole Miss. As long as he can keep his, everything straight. Ole Miss is a great. Chris Beard is a great coach.
I think and I want to say this correctly. I think that Keith Carter, who also is a former teammate of mine, who's the AD now, he's from Arkansas as well. I think he wanted to make a big splash. Um, I think Beard was the biggest splash he could make besides Will Wade. I also think there were other candidates that were maybe just as intriguing, but for the immediate get to be able to get someone out the gate, I think Chris Beard was the guy. You're talking about a guy who's been in the South recruiting, who's actually taking a team or teams to the NCAA tournament to the final game. And so I also know that my junior year was the last year that the Rebs had been to the Sweet 16, and I know the diehard fans down in Oxford want to support. You also have to bring someone in who can recruit.
And Chris Beard can.
And he can. And I think he's going to take his time putting his staff together. He got two huge guys to recommit back to Ole Miss. Kid that played for me this summer, Rashard Marshall, probably one of the most talented kids in the country.
Oh, I don't think too many kids will want to transfer out.
Two of them did. Two of them. They're going to leave. A couple of signings are going to leave because Chris Beard has a style of play that doesn't fit with a lot of people. He's a up in your face size, switch everything. The tenacity. He coaches with a chip because he always had a chip coming up, coaching multiple leagues. If you know his story, I had a chance to speak with him when he first got the UALR job, and he caught lightning in a bottle back then, signed 11 players, and, man, turned that program around. And then it was off to UNLV for a signing, then Texas Tech, then Texas. And so I've known Chris Beard for quite some time. I can't wait to go down there and see him and talk to him and pick.
I figured you would feel that way, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm happy. I would be very, very naive to think that it won't be a PR deal coming up about the hire as the season is upon us. But
yeah, it will.
But I hope he
they'll take a few hits. But I think Ole Miss. Ole Miss is okay with that. That's why they hired.
I think we have the ability to take those hits because once you're in the cellar, you're just looking up. You're looking up for anyone to come in and give us a ray of sunshine. I think the campus is so beautiful down there. And here's the thing: you guys know this. If you have a $90 million arena and you have less than 1,000 people coming to men's basketball games,
that's pretty bad.
Huge problem.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Coach Yo over there with the women's is doing a phenomenal job. She is increasing her attendance, and so men's basketball, hey, I'll say it, was at the bottom of the totem pole compared to baseball, football, women's soccer, softball. I mean,
it shouldn't be.
And it shouldn't be.
But men's basketball shouldn't be on the bottom of the totem pole. That's for sure.
But it is a tough job. It's a tough job, especially, now watch this, especially when Texas and Oklahoma are coming in the following year.
They are.
So some of my sources are saying that that he is actually waiting, and I'm pretty sure he is on the coaching carousel. And I know he just started this. He's to fill out his coaching staff because you have a lot of coaches who are.
And Ole Miss, to be quite honest with you, I mean, if he does well in 3 years, he may move on. And Ole Miss,
that was the thing.
And Ole Miss,
that was the thing.
And Ole Miss is going to have to be ready to hire somebody, in his place, because I feel like Chris Beard's a good enough coach and a good enough recruiter that may happen.
Well, you got to understand this too. When Texas and Oklahoma come over to the SEC, this is the best conference in the entire United States. It goes from that. So if you want to leave, where are you going to go? Like, where are you really going to go? Are you going to go back to Texas? No. Are you going to go back to Texas Tech? No. Which was Texas Tech was his, he was a real.
I mean, if a blue blood comes calling or something, you just never know.
I don't see a blue blood calling within the next 3 years unless he is Final Four bound again.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. If he does really well, then that's what I was saying in 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So another big splash today in the coaching carousel, Georgia Tech hired Damon Stoudemire.
Yeah, man, that was
today.
I did not see that coming, but I can say that
that's a pretty big splash for Georgia Tech.
Well, think about this though, Georgia Tech. You just fired an Arizona guy, and so you're going to bring in another Arizona guy.
Yeah. Well, so Damon Stoudemire coached at Pacific for about 5 years, and in the last 2 years, he has been one of the main assistants on the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Damon Stoudemire has been coaching.
Yeah, I think it's a good hire. It's a good hire. I think he will be able to get certain recruits down there because let's face it, Georgia Tech is in the heart of Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Downtown Atlanta. I had a former player, Javon Franklin. Me and him was talking this time last year. Either we was going to do Georgia Southern. Notice I said we. Either we were going to do Georgia Southern.
I got some Georgia Southern news too, actually.
Or he said, Coach, I just want to go to Georgia Tech. I said, you know what, Javon? Go be great. Because two of his main friends were Sharif Cooper and what's the kid?
Sharif Cooper.
Who's the kid that got drafted out of Auburn? Top 5 pick.
You talking about
Smith?
No.
Kessler?
No. Go back another year. When they made the Final Four run. No, it wasn't the Final
Four. We didn't have
run.
a guy on that one.
Yes, the year after.
Oh, you're talking about Okiki?
No, Okiki got hurt.
Yeah, but he was still drafted top 5.
No, he wasn't drafted top 5. He was drafted first round.
Sorry, he was drafted. He was drafted in the.
Yeah.
He was still a lottery pick.
Yeah,
Sorry,
late lottery.
He was a lottery pick.
Watch this. If I say this team, you're gonna know he got drafted by Cleveland. I can't say his name.
Oh, Okoro.
Yeah.
Isaac Okoro.
Isaac Okoro. So Javon
got it.
Those guys. And so
I'm actually just shocked that we have that many players in the league right now. When you start thinking about it, I'm like, wait,
Jabari,
hold on.
We had to debate. We had to go through musical chairs right quick. But I think that's just a good job to have if you can get players in now the ACC.
I think it's a good hire by Georgia Tech to hire Damon Stoudemire from the Boston Celtics. That's a good hire, if you ask me.
That's a good hire.
Damon Stoudemire was a very, very good point guard and player. Played at Arizona.
Mighty Maya.
Mighty
Maya. Hey, I got a tech. No, I started to get the same tattoo you got.
Played in the NBA for many years. Played for the Toronto Raptors, and a few other teams as well. But mostly known for his play at the Toronto Raptors, I would think.
No doubt. Rookie of the year.
Yeah, rookie of the year. I think it's a great hire. Now, you said Georgia Southern. I've got news that says that Nate Oates, lead assistant, Charlie Henry, is taking the Georgia Southern head coach job, has already signed a 4-year deal. He's going to, of course, finish out the season with Alabama. He's not leaving the team, but he is going to be taking the head coaching job at Georgia Southern. His name is Charlie Henry. He actually started with Nate Oates as an assistant with him when Nate Oates was a high school coach.
Hey, sometimes you just got to ride the wave.
And he was in what, Detroit? Isn't that where
Michigan? It was in Detroit. I was in Michigan,
the Detroit area, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this guy is rode. Now he did leave him and go somewhere else for a little while, and then come back to him. I think in 19 at Alabama. I think, but he started with Nate Oates as an assistant coach in high school. Is how he started.
Sweet.
So I just thought I'd bring that up. Also, the news come out today that Aaron McKee from Temple is stepping to the side and taking a front office job. He is not going to be the head coach anymore. I wanted to bring that up. I'm also hearing that the top candidate that Notre Dame wants for their head coaching basketball job is Chris Holtzman, who is the Ohio State head coach, and that he is the top candidate for the Notre Dame job. So I wanted to bring that up. And then there are two jobs besides that I wanted to bring up. There's Rick Pitino rumors to two schools, not one, St. John's and Texas Tech. I'm hearing that both schools are going after Rick Pitino really hard. Of course, he is a New York native. I would think St. John's would, this late in his life, would make the cut, I would think, but I don't know that for sure. And then the other one that I wanted to bring up is Ed Cooley, the Providence head coach, is being talked about as the next head coach of the Georgetown Hoyas.
Man, that's scary. That's scary.
So if Rick Pitino goes to St. John's and Cooley goes to Georgetown, are we going to get the old Big East back together or what?
Man, you need to. You need to, man.
I mean, we're talking the old Big East is making a comeback.
Man, it's
the Backstreet Boys are coming back.
Hey man, listen. It's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be very interesting leading into the NCAA tournament. Leading into it because a lot of coaches and don't forget, I know you're not done. Wichita State is open, and two guys who are at a Power 5 school have ties there. Who may you talk, and one of them is playing.
Mike Anderson's fired. Mike Anderson was fired and let go out of the A10 yesterday. I think
the Saints. Who was Mike Anderson was a coach at St. John's, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, St. John's. Yeah. Mike Anderson was.
Coach Jans, who's coaching Mississippi State, is connected to the Wichita State job. And Forbes at Wake Forest. So it's
right.
It's very it's going to be very, very interesting.
All right, guys. Yep. Is there any other coaching news or anything in college sports that y'all wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
As far as news wise.
Yes. I'm gonna go ahead, John, because I have another one.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
New McNeese State coach.
Hey, yes, great.
That's it. Yes, I actually meant to bring that up, but you're right. Yeah. Will Wade was hired at McNeese State. Very interesting because it's in Louisiana as well. So he has all the ties there. So I'll let you go. You broke it, and I meant to bring it up.
And then what happened?
Yes. And I was going to say sidebar. You know the sidebar?
No, I don't.
Go ahead, John.
So he will be suspended for the first 5 games.
Really? Already?
You didn't know that?
You can't even make that shit up.
No. It was. Yeah.
Is that true?
It was all over the net today.
It was all over the net. This is on 3 Sports that has that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So he's about to come up. He's about to come up. His sanctions. He's about to come up. So they're trying to self-impose.
They haven't been finished yet.
Yeah. They haven't been finished. So that's self-imposing. Hey, here goes the job. You're gonna miss the first 5 games, and you're not gonna recruit this summer.
It's kind of like Bruce Pearl. I mean, when Auburn got Bruce Pearl, he was still under the
sanctions and stuff.
Show clause.
He was under
show clause.
The show cause. And so he couldn't recruit for the summer as well. Couldn't do anything until late late summer, right before the fall, or right when the fall hit, or something like that. That was so he couldn't do anything. But they went ahead and signed him because they knew, might as well go ahead and get him now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what McNeese State was thinking. Where they got Will Wade, but they also needed to go ahead and say, okay, well, we're going to get him, but we need to make sure that we kind of show that he's going to be suspended or whatever.
That's another one. If he does anything there, he won't be there 2 or 3 years.
No. The moment that he gets the ability to get out, he may get out.
Yeah, if he takes him anywhere, he'll move on somewhere else.
Now, I can agree. Just like you made the comment about Chris Beard. Now that is accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It might even take 1 year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The one thing I know, he can get some dudes in there.
Oh yeah,
He get some dudes.
Yep.
I was fixed to say something, but
now it's legal.
It's legal.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a strong ass offer right there.
Yeah, it's legal.
Strong ass offer.
Everything's legal now, so yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it is legal.
Yeah.
It was on the tip of my tongue. I had to say it.
I know. But yeah, it was just one of those where I was like, I saw that and I was like, no, that ain't real.
Man, I'm talking about.
Like, well, yeah, it could be.
All right, guys, let's get to the NCAA tournament bracket real quick. Let's get to the South region.
Before we get there, NIT news: UAB beat Southern Miss.
Cool.
Yeah, round one.
Hey, I was all for UAB getting to the final.
They had
NCAA.
They had about late in the game. They had a 20-point lead. I don't know. I didn't see exactly what the score was when they.
I hope that they make the Final Four at least, and maybe have a chance to win it.
And then I know we're getting ready to go jump into to the NCAA tournament, but I've been watching Auburn baseball. And they're playing Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech had a massive lead and was just absolutely just crushing the ball, and it was 11-6. Well, Auburn has come back and has taken the lead with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
No, sorry, they haven't taken the lead. It's tied at 11 with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and Georgia Tech's changing pitchers right now. So, but It was one of those where they just. In one inning, the moment that Georgia Tech took this big lead on them, Auburn has strung together a bunch of hits and walks, and is, like I said before, they have to hit their way out of things because their pitching's not the greatest.
Right.
And if the offense is on, they are dangerous, but the pitching has to be like okay. And so that was kind of the problem against this past weekend. We'll get more into that when we get into baseball. But yeah, I'm just kind of watching and looking at some of the live scores right now. So,
well, the first NCAA bracket that I was going to bring up is the South region. That's the one that Alabama's in. Actually, the game tonight, Texas A&M Corpus Christi will play Alabama. Alabama's the number 1 overall seed. I'm not even really going to talk about that game. Everybody in the country is going to pick Alabama. So, but the 8-9 matchup is Maryland versus West Virginia. That's could be an interesting matchup. Should be an interesting matchup. I think the 5-12 in this one with San Diego State versus College of Charleston is a very interesting matchup and could be an upset alert. On that one would be my take on that one. I also think Furman versus Virginia. This is a very interesting game. You got one of the best defensive teams in Virginia versus one of the absolute best offensive teams in Furman in Division I basketball.
Yep.
And it's going to be an interesting game on, which style does Tony Bennett's slow down 40, 45, 48, point game.
Look at how that team, now this is it's a different team and a different year, but look at how they played Auburn. in the Final Four, because that was
Yeah,
again a very slow down,
that's the way they
methodical
play.
team going
Yeah.
against a high flying offense.
Yep.
So just look at how that happened. I mean, Auburn still almost pulled it out, but that's what they're going to do. It's going
Yeah.
to look like
Oh, yeah. And I think that's going to be a very interesting game. It's an interesting game to pick as well. And then in the bottom half of the bracket, you've got Creighton versus NC State in the 6-11 game, which I think that should be a good game. I am picking Creighton to win that game, but I think it should be a good game.
Right.
And then you got Baylor versus UC Santa Barbara, which I think is an interesting game. I think UC Santa Barbara will hang with them for a while, but I think Baylor will, win it pretty handily. But I think UC Santa Barbara, they score a lot of points, and offensively, I think they will hang with them for a little while. And then you got Missouri, Utah State. Both of these teams average 79 plus points a game. They're both run and gun. Utah State has 3 shooters that are just amazing on this team. As a team, they average almost 40% from the 3-point line as a team. And that could be a tough game for Missouri. Utah State is they can fill it up. And then you end with Arizona versus Princeton.
Man, these matchups are scary.
Yeah, they are.
They're very, very scary.
That's the first round games for the South region. So what do you guys think? Where's your upset? Where do you think you might see an upset in this, or what do you think, Jason?
I think alluding to the argument, I think College of Charleston has a good chance of really busting the bubble wide open. I think Baylor has to be on watch as well. Arizona even has to be on watch because it's all about
Princeton's always hard.
It's all about matchup. It's all about matchup. Anytime, because it's only one game. One game you had to be right. It's one game. It's not a series or anything like that. But that's why the NCAA tournament is just so amazing, because you just have to be good for 40 or 45 or 50 minutes, however long the game is. You have to be good that night. And I think this year, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be an upset early in every bracket.
I think so too. Absolutely. There's too many good 11, 12, 13 seeded teams that's not going to get some wins, if you ask me. But now I will say in this, so I think that Missouri has an outside chance to make a little noise in this bracket.
They do.
But they do have to get by Utah State in that first game, because Utah State has a high-powered offense. I also like Creighton to make a little noise in this bracket as well. I think Creighton could possibly make the Sweet 16. A possible matchup would be Creighton versus Baylor to get there. So I think that would be a good game to watch. But I am picking Alabama to win this region and go to the Final Four. That's my pick.
Yeah. They I think you're accurate about that. I think Alabama to me is the team to beat. It's the team to beat. I think they're coming in with, just like I know they're not in this region, just like Duke. I think they're coming in with some momentum.
Yeah.
And I think they got to watch out for being complacent. I don't think they can not show up and play their best game, because one bad half, you can lose this game.
First round games, Furman and College of Charleston could both upset. They could. It's possible. So, as far as upsets in this region, those will be my 2 picks as far as like real upsets. Utah State over Missouri, a 7 over a 10. I don't really consider that too much of an upset.
Even. I think all 7 through 12 seeds are just about even.
Yeah, I don't
Capacity.
7 through 7-10 game. I don't consider that an upset. So,
Right.
So those are the ones that I would pick. And like I said, I am picking Alabama to win this region. I think Creighton has a chance. Missouri has a chance to make the Sweet 16. They're going to have to beat some good teams to do that, though.
They are.
Yep.
That's kind of my take on the South. And then let's take a look at the Midwest, which is across in the bracket. The Midwest starts out with Houston versus North Texas. Then you got the Iowa-Auburn game in Birmingham.
Hold on, quick. Houston versus North Texas.
That's not North Texas.
Northern Kentucky. What I say?
You said North Texas. I'm like,
that's not North Texas.
I know the committee wouldn't do that. The committee
no. North Texas didn't even make the bracket. I'm sorry, guys. Northern Kentucky. Houston versus Northern Kentucky.
There you go.
Iowa versus Auburn is the 8-9 seed in Birmingham in this game, or in this bracket. Then you get some interesting matchups here as well in the 5-12. You have Miami versus Drake.
Right.
Drake is another team that can fill it up. They got 3-point shooters. They've won, they've won 30 games this year. I can't remember their record now, 30-3 or 30-4 or something like that's their record. Drake is a dangerous team for Miami. And then you got Indiana versus Kent State.
Correct.
Kent State is full of seniors that have been there before. And they're a dangerous team. Kent State is. They're a team that has played some really strong teams at the beginning of the year and just lost by a few points. And they've been tested, Kent State has. I think it's a dangerous team for Indiana to play. And then Iowa State will play they'll play the winner of the game that's going on right now.
Tough.
Which is Pittsburgh versus Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Iowa State plays the winner of that game, actually, in the 6-11.
Right.
Then you got Xavier versus Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State beat Liberty to get in the tournament, so they're not a slouch team either.
They're not.
And then you have Texas A&M versus Penn State. Penn State just made a run in the Big Ten, and that's the 7-10 matchup.
Right.
And then you got Texas versus Colgate at the bottom, the 2-15.
Yeah. It's ironic that I will make this comment, even though I know this is not the team of this year. The Final Four team Auburn just had did one thing very well. Well, they did a bunch of things very well, but one thing they did was really shoot the ball.
Yes.
And if you really, really can shoot the ball, I'm talking about really, really shoot the ball. If you can really, really shoot the ball, you can win the NCAA tournament.
Correct.
And you mentioned Drake. It's a team that can really, really shoot the ball. And so I will be fearful of that because during this NCAA tournament, bad matchups. It doesn't matter. David and Goliath matchup, that doesn't matter. Whoever makes shots and who owns the paint will win the ball game. Because that team, what was that, 2 years ago?
I'm actually picking.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to pick Drake to upset Miami in this game. I think.
Well, hey,
I really am.
It would be a good pick. I just think Miami should overwhelm them. If you do not impose your will and you let the game just flow, man, a team
and Indiana better be aware of Kent State. Man, I'm not playing at all.
Yes.
That 19 year for Auburn, they almost didn't make it out of the first round.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I think they were playing. I think it was New Mexico State and had to shoot. They had to score at the final seconds of the game to win it.
Yeah. They did.
And then they went on the run of knocking off the Blue Bloods at that point.
Man, those 3 Blue Bloods, that unbelievable.
When they,
but I can say that, and that's what I'm thinking about when I look at this year's NCAA tournament. Like,
what about the What about the possibility of a second-round matchup between Texas A&M and Texas?
Man, look,
Not happening.
But that would be an awfully good second-round matchup.
But it's not happening.
I'm just saying that would be an awfully good second-round matchup.
You don't think Texas A&M will make it?
I think Penn State's going to win.
Man,
Okay.
Man, you could very, very be right.
I've been a fan of Texas A&M all season. I think they got a raw draw, to be honest with you.
I think. I mean, look, they have played really well. It just I don't know if they're going to win.
If they can beat Alabama, they can beat Penn State. That's all.
Yes, they can. Again, this is a tournament where they can have a bad night, and all of a sudden,
man, grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah. Good
all
afternoon,
right, guys.
good
So
evening, and good night.
Who do you think's going to come out of the Midwest? I think it comes down to two teams. I think it comes down to Houston or Texas.
Yeah, I went. I mean, by the end of the, once you get to the end of the bracket right there, or the end of that region, I mean, I had the 1v2 right there, with Houston versus Texas, and I ultimately had Texas winning.
That's who I went with, was Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I went like I'm leaning towards Texas. If Houston does get there, the Final Four is played in Houston.
Right. And I think that that will be just so tantalizing and everything like that, and everybody will start talking about that, and then all of a sudden they miss it because, heck, it could be a
Marcus Carr and company,
a 1 or 2 point victory for Texas, and you can think you are that close.
Marcus Carr and company at Texas has been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
I
mean, they beat Kansas twice in March already.
I would say the health of Sasser is very, very
makes a difference.
He is the head of the snake.
Yep.
He drives a car, he directs traffic, and
it does. You're totally right.
He is
makes
the
a big
straw
difference.
that stirs the drink.
Yep.
Exactly.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Exactly. So
all right. So let's talk about which one did I put first? The East. Let's talk about the East region. The East region is Purdue. And they play a play-in game that's 16 seed tomorrow night. Then you have Memphis versus Florida Atlantic, FAU.
Correct.
8-9 seed. That could be a really good game right there.
Will be a good game.
Then you have Duke versus Oral Roberts. You talking about a team filling it up and plays great. Oral Roberts is a heck of a team, and Duke has their hands full in the first round, if you ask me.
Right.
Then you have Tennessee as the 4 versus Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, as a 13 line. And the bottom of the bracket is 6-11 is Kentucky Providence, Kansas State, Montana State, Michigan State versus USC, and in the bottom is Marquette versus Vermont. Vermont's
that
been
one right there. Look, the
tournament quite a bit.
The Michigan State versus USC. That's just straight up. Who's going to lose in the second round?
Yeah. Like, Marquette's.
I don't think
Marquette's losing that.
I did not realize Michigan State got in. They actually got in.
I don't even know. Yes, they did somehow.
They did
as a 7 seed too. Not as a 10 or 11. They're a 7 seed. Yeah.
I think that Providence against Kentucky, it's going to be a game of all games.
Well, you got Bryce Hopkins going against his old team. Ed Cooley possibly being rumored to Georgetown now. Plus, you got Calipari and
rumored to Texas still.
I know.
They're still talking about that. So
I know.
Man, it's going to be a game of musical chairs going around in the coaching carousel.
Now, here's the question: what happens if Texas wins it all?
Well, you got to give him a job.
Surely they give Rodney Terry the job. Surely
you got to give him a job. I think if they made the Sweet 16, I think if they made Sweet 16, because my sources telling me that's one of the guys Chris Beard is actually waiting on to see if he gets that job.
Right. So he can join his staff.
So he can join his staff in Oxford.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I mean, if he gets to the first weekend,
Texas is wanting to make that big hire, and you're right. There is still some rumors about Calipari going there. So
right.
I even heard Rick Pitino. Watch out.
Yeah.
I even heard Rick Pitino. Might be, think about that. Can you think about
the disrespect?
All right. I have a question for y'all when it comes to this region.
Uh-huh.
Does Purdue get by Memphis and FAU in the second round?
Well, I'm gonna say this: FAU is a great, solid team. They play good. I think Memphis left. I think Purdue beats FAU. I don't know if Purdue could beat Memphis based on the way they play. Memphis can kind of smother you.
They play big.
They play big.
You have to play big against the 7-4 guys.
Well, but here's the other thing. And the only thing when I tell you about, and also I know we'll talk later about Edey. Edey will be a draft pick in this year's NBA draft. If he decides to come out, which I think he will, right? He will be a draft pick. I just think he cannot keep up with the guys from Memphis.
I think Memphis plays too fast for him.
Yeah, I think that. But he can impose his will. If he gets the ball down low.
What about a possible Oral Roberts in Tennessee or Duke in Tennessee?
I think Duke is on a 9-game winning streak.
Duke's playing one of the best in the nation right now.
They're playing well right now.
They have.
And their guard, like we keep saying, the guard is playing very, very well. And I think
I'm telling you though, Oral Roberts is a dangerous team.
They are.
They are there, but I think that
I think it's a bad matchup for Oral Roberts going against Duke.
I
will say that.
If they were playing somebody else, hell, if Oral Roberts was playing Tennessee, I'd have picked Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
Right.
But I
do think it's a bad matchup.
Yeah, I think Duke.
But I'm just trying to give Oral Roberts the credit they deserve.
Right.
They have a hell of a team.
Yeah.
Well, everybody understands what happened with Oral Roberts not too long ago. They had a chance to beat Arkansas.
They were at the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago.
You see what I'm saying? So they had a chance to make it, but I don't see Duke wavering. I don't see that. I don't see Duke.
So who comes out of this bracket? You got Purdue, you got Duke, you got Marquette, you got Kansas State.
Marquette, that's another one. That's another team that's playing.
I'm telling you, Marquette at the bottom. I'm tempted to pick Marquette to come out of this region.
I've actually got Marquette coming out of this region. I had a Duke Marquette matchup to get.
That's where I'm kind of
going.
Yep. Is Duke Marquette.
Yep.
That would be a hell of a game. That would be a hell of a game.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning is Duke Marquette.
God.
But you don't want to throw Purdue away because they have arguably the most dominant player on the inside in the college game in college basketball right now.
And Correct. If a game comes down to needing a basket, Edey can get it.
Edey can get it, yes. But here's the thing: Edey will have to make the pass. If I'm a coach, Edey will not beat me. He will have to make the pass.
He'll just shoot. He'll just hook it right over top of y'all.
No. Hey,
you don't let him get it. You don't let him get it close. He has to come out to get it.
I know.
Triple team, and I will walk away if his guys make a 3 to win.
They all have to. I think that Purdue has to be able to shoot the ball from the outside in order to.
They do,
because in order to make him the threat that he is, you've got to make the other guys just as much of a threat.
Yeah.
And if they're not shooting, and see, I think that's what's going to end up happening is that I think that Duke gets them. I think Duke beats Purdue, and I think that And that's why I have the Duke Marquette.
Duke Marquette, and I'm leaning Marquette. It could be
Right.
Duke though.
Yeah, and I've got Marquette,
but I'm leaning Marquette
Yep.
out of this region. But I'm not discrediting Duke.
Right.
And I'm a Kentucky fan,
Yep.
and everybody knows it. And I'm not a Duke fan at all. Okay, so but I'm not discrediting them. They do have a chance to come out of this region.
Yep.
And Kentucky, by the way, Kentucky's in this region, and I do think Kentucky can win the Providence game. As a Kentucky fan, I'll just throw this in here. I do think Kentucky can win the Providence game. And if they play as well as they played against Arkansas and Tennessee a couple of times and stuff, I think they would have a shot to beat Kansas State in the second round. But they have to play that kind of game against Kansas State.
See, I just don't trust them, and that's why I got Kansas State in that one.
Right. I'm just saying they would have a shot, but they would have to play the game that they played against Arkansas late. They'd have to play the game that they played against Tennessee. They would have to play that game to have a shot to beat Kansas State.
Yep.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And then if they did, they would probably match up with Marquette, and I just don't think Kentucky has the horses to beat Marquette.
Right. And that is
I just don't.
And that's why I've got Marquette winning that one.
Yeah. So that's where I think if the best Kentucky could do would be play a Sweet 16 game, I believe, in this bracket. And that's what I'm hoping for as a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
All right. So then we're going to move to the West bracket. The West bracket is Kansas as the number 1 seed.
Yep.
And they're playing Howard.
And shout out to all HBCUs. Go ahead.
Yep, they're playing Howard. And then the 8-9 game is Arkansas versus Illinois. The 5-12 is St. Mary's versus VCU.
Nice game.
Which is an interesting matchup. The 4-13 is UConn versus Iona. Okay? Iona's Rick Pitino.
Did you say UConn? UConn's going to overwhelm them. They're going to overwhelm them.
UConn versus Rick Pitino.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Rick Pitino's not shooting.
No, he's coaching. That's the problem.
I know.
That's the problem.
Yeah, but
then you got TCU versus tomorrow night's play-in game, which is Arizona State versus Nevada.
Yep.
So TCU plays the winner of that game. That's the 6-11. And then the 3-14 is Gonzaga versus Grand Canyon. I do want to give a little shout out. I've gained a little knowledge. LaFonso Ellis has got a son that's on Grand Canyon's team.
Yep.
I just wanted to give a little shout out. I figured that out over the weekend, covering a lot of this stuff and watching stuff. The 7-10 is Northwestern versus Boise State. Mountain West team. And then UCLA versus UNC Asheville is the 2-15 game in the West. So Kansas again, number 1 seed, defending national champs.
Yep.
Do they come out of this bracket?
Yes.
That sound too convincing.
Yes, I do.
Or does Arkansas, if they get there, does Arkansas actually have a chance to knock off the defending champs in the second round?
I mean, everybody's got a chance.
You're right. You have a chance and a choice. Everybody got a chance and a choice every day. That's one of the mottos I live.
I just wanted to throw that. Listen, if Arkansas had been fully healthy, they lost some players. I can't think of the guy's name now that lost.
Brazil.
It was on that team last year. Brazil. Yeah. They lost him. And of course, they was out with Nick Smith for a while. He's back. But had they been fully healthy, I really like that Arkansas team.
Yeah, I mean, if they were fully healthy, that's definite. They're definitely a team to be reckoned with. But it just
St. Mary and Gonzaga's in this bracket. Is either one of them team have a chance to come out of this bracket?
Again, everybody's got a chance, but I have Gonzaga losing to Kansas.
So you have Gonzaga making the Elite Eight?
Yeah. Not that I really
Okay.
wanted to have Gonzaga make the Elite Eight.
That's how your bracket failed.
It's just how the bracket.
Yeah.
It's how the bracket worked. I wasn't wanting them to do it. I wasn't
Well,
like
you got
I
UCLA in there.
yeah, but I'd have Gonzaga beating UCLA.
I think UCLA,
Yeah.
The loss of their player
Clark.
Clark,
The
man.
loss of Clark
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts him now going into a setting like this, a tournament now. You know, I think they can overcome it because, like I said, name of the game, you make shots. You make shots and rebound, you got a chance. But man, it's hard. And let me do a little disclaimer. I'd never do an NCAA tournament bracket. I never do one.
What?
I never do one because
That's crazy,
Jason.
Jason.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because I would do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I would be obsessed with trying to. Get
I always have
all
at least
right.
two.
Yeah,
I always have at least two.
It's like, man, it's really amazing to see because when things happen, I don't be surprised. You know, it's just
Right.
man, it's just I'm too much of a fan of the game that I really want to just watch the game instead of.
Okay, does UConn have a chance to knock off Kansas?
They do. UConn to me is a team that can catch lightning in a bottle and win it. They have the players.
See,
they have the team.
That's the thing. Almost everybody that's in this tournament, because you have those from 5, 6, 7 through 12, where everybody's kind of the same, and any one of those could knock off a top dog, but every one of them could get beat by 20 by the top dog.
Man, it wouldn't be an upset. People like, hey, it could happen. But then when they get blown out, we knew it would get blown out. They haven't been playing well.
Yeah, you know about it. I mean, I keep looking at them like, man, I could easily pick all the upsets right here. Like,
yeah, man, one of those things. You know.
So if Kansas comes out and Texas come out, that means Kansas and Texas would meet each other in the Final Four again.
yes,
I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
I have Texas and Kansas in the Final Four.
Ooh,
facing each other.
2 Big 12 teams in.
Yes,
I mean that could happen. That could happen.
Yes. Yes.
I've been stating that a Big East team, I thought a Big East team would get there. Now that I'm looking at the brackets, I think Marquette has the best chance, and the second best chance, I think, is UConn. I think UConn in this bracket,
Yes.
if they could beat Kansas,
Yes.
they can get to the Final Four.
Correct. They have to beat Kansas.
They have to beat Kansas to do it
Yep.
in the Sweet 16.
I agree.
That'll be a Sweet 16.
Sorry,
game.
yes. In the
But I
Sweet 16.
I think that UConn is the other team that could actually do it out of the Big East. I'm not as big on Xavier to do it. Definitely not Providence to do it. So out of the the Big East teams that I have kind of been touting this year, those are the two teams that I think has an actual chance to get to the Final Four now that the brackets have come out.
Right.
Yeah. And then we'll pick our winners later on down the road. I just wanted to talk about each region. We'll pick our winners as the tournament goes along in a week or two, and we'll see who we have locked up there. But in this region, I really, to be honest with you, I really want to pick UConn or Gonzaga to get there because I really am just tired of seeing Kansas. I'm a Kentucky fan, and I'm just tired of seeing Kansas there.
I just don't think this is that Gonzaga team.
I don't either.
And that's why I had them going further than I really thought that they really
have
should.
played better. They've won about 10 or 12 in a row. They have played better.
Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if TCU knocked off Gonzaga. Second round. I really wouldn't.
No.
And I agree with you.
What if Nevada knocks off TCU? then what?
Then you just turned everything upside down.
Another bracket buster team, I would say, could be Texas Southern. Remember, I said that.
Yep.
They were
Texas Southern.
Yeah, they were injured all year. They had a bunch of injuries, and all of a sudden now they're
in that play-in game tomorrow night.
Their biggest problem is that they're the 16 seed.
Yeah, and they play. Well, they play Purdue.
They'll play Purdue, and that's just the problem.
Remember, I told you now. Styles.
They play Purdue.
Styles make games.
Right.
Texas Southern has a bunch of athletes. So if Edie doesn't impose his will, and I meant to say that earlier, if Edie does, like we said, if Edie doesn't impose his will, that means he has to keep up with those athletes. Now you have to change and play Texas Southern style of basketball instead of Purdue style of basketball because they have the guards.
You get him running and get him tired, and then he may be a little sloppy, and then you may get foul trouble Edie versus
dominant Edie. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
we'll see.
We'll see. Be aware. Be aware.
Like I said, we'll get to our Final Four picks for sure, and our
Sweet 16
winners.
Sweet 16.
Well,
Elite Eight
next week,
Final Four picks. Yeah, you're right.
And we'll get to that. So we're gonna leave it at that as far as the basketball stuff tonight. John, I'm gonna open the door up for a little baseball talk. If you got any baseball stuff that you want to talk about, I know this weekend is the opening for the SEC play. Correct. I know that is going on, and it's a big weekend for all the SEC schools because the very first series for opening for the SEC play is this weekend. I know that Kentucky plays Mississippi State this weekend.
Right.
I know that's who they play, and I believe that it's at Kentucky. I believe.
Give me a second here. So
I seen it earlier, and I read an article on Kentucky. They're actually 14-2 before today. They've won 10 in a row, and making a little bit of noise. They have the 14th ranked ERA pitching staff in America. Kentucky does. I've seen that they're ranked 14th at 2.44 is their overall ERA, but their relief staff is even better than that. I think they're like 9th in the country.
Right.
Their relief staff.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at this. Let's see. We have the SEC matchups this weekend. We have South Carolina at Georgia, Alabama at Florida, Mississippi State at Kentucky, LSU at A&M, Tennessee at Missouri, Ole Miss at Vanderbilt, and then we got to go on Auburn at Arkansas. And
Ole Miss and Vandy ought to be a good series.
Should be.
Alabama and Florida should be a good series.
No, it won't. That'll be a bad series.
You don't think?
Yeah, I think Florida will wipe the floor with Alabama.
All right.
Yeah,
Florida's
Alabama
great.
Is the new Kentucky for baseball, and what I mean by that is Kentucky had a history of beating up on bad teams before the SEC.
Right.
And then they would get ranked, and they'd be ranked like 15th or whatever.
Right.
And then they'd get into the SEC and
get killed by a bunch
then it'd
of
be
teams.
like, have a 10-20 SEC record, and they're just they weren't great. They could go.
Well, I think LSU will wipe the floor with Texas A&M
to go win some other conferences. They're good enough to go beat up on other conferences, but they're not good enough to have.
I think LSU will wipe the floor with Texas A&M. That's just my opinion. Baseball this weekend.
Yeah, I think LSU will take out Texas A&M, and I think Florida will take out Alabama, and those are the only kind of guaranteed.
Arkansas, Auburn are the two worst pitching staffs so far.
Correct, and
in the
Auburn,
SEC.
Auburn has to just learn how, like, if they can keep up the offense, again, they have to hit their way out.
I mean, you got the two worst pitching staffs going against each other the first weekend. So,
oh, Jesus!
That's why you have
just had Auburn just had a wild pitch where the catcher.
Speaking of pitching staff, I just said pitching staff.
Right. Yeah, and so catcher made a play. He went and slid got the ball and threw it to the pitcher, who then completely blocked the plate, didn't allow the runner to even touch it, and was able to tag the runner out, and that would have been the potential go-ahead run. It is still tied at 11. I think they're going into the bottom of the 7th. I think that's what I just saw. So
Kentucky. Speaking of, we talked about Kentucky a while ago. So I think it'll be a good test for Mississippi State coming in.
And this is actually a team. So Mississippi State.
We'll see exactly where Kentucky is, I think.
Right, because Mississippi State is still not where they want to be.
And no, I don't think they are.
Kentucky could for Kentucky to win, if their offense isn't that great, then their pitching staff has to shut the other team down.
And that's what
they've got to make everything 1-0, 2-1, 3-2,
3-2
ball games.
Yeah.
Low scoring.
Yeah. Right.
Auburn is the opposite. Auburn has to hit everybody and make and
Kentucky's got to have the pitching staff to do it. So
pray to God that they hold off the other team.
Yeah.
Because everybody can hit in the SEC, and I mean, if you can't pitch, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
So
it's interesting to me. I am interested to see what Kentucky does this weekend against Mississippi State at home. I think it is a possible series that they could win at home with their pitching staff.
Yeah.
And I think it's, to get off on the right foot, basically, in the SEC play, and to get that first series win is majorly important for Kentucky.
Yep. So, well,
those
tonight,
are the SEC matchups.
Yeah, tonight Jacksonville State went over to Oxford and took a game. I think that's right. I think they did it in Oxford. It is very possible that
you can beat Oxford. You can win a game in Oxford.
Oh yeah. Well, this is midweek. I don't. This is not an unexpected event. Yeah, actually, no. Ole Miss traveled to Jacksonville State and then got beat 10-6.
Yeah.
This happens quite a few times. I mean, there'll be teams that go down to like South Alabama and get beat. So you'll have, South Alabama will rise up and look really good. Mercer will beat a bunch of teams. Just Lipscomb in the midweek could beat you.
Yeah.
Lipscomb in the weekend may not beat you, but Lipscomb in the midweek could beat you.
Yeah.
So that's it's just the midweek is so different, and teams that are really.
It has to do with pitching staffs mostly.
It does,
yeah.
And they may throw their number one guy, one of their weekend starters.
Yeah, and the Power Five is throwing their fourth or fifth guy.
Right, and again, they may throw their weekend starter because I believe the Friday night starter that is their bullpen day. Is Tuesday,
right?
And if they're playing Tuesday night, that's the Friday night starter's bullpen day, which means he could go out there and throw about three to four innings or so.
Yeah.
and that be his bullpen.
Right. Yeah.
And then they can kind of throw their best arms, in their best 2-3 guys behind him to close it out. And you're throwing your 4th, 5th best starter, and then you're probably not throwing your best arms. You may throw 1 or 2 of them, but you're not throwing all of them. So
You was talking about Lipscomb a second ago. Tennessee beat Lipscomb today, 10-0. UK
Tennessee probably threw a bunch of bats into the stands when they hit a home run. They probably
Kentucky beat
danced
Indiana
around the
today, 12-2
bases.
in 7. 10-run ruled them in 7.
Yeah, I can see that.
12-2.
Yeah.
Just a couple of scores that I was looking at.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put Indiana as one of the top.
They
Big
weren't.
10
They're
teams.
10-6 in the Big Ten. They were 10-6 before today. Now they're 10-7, I think. Yeah.
Right. But yeah. Anyway, so as far as this weekend, some other big matchups, and I'm gonna go look through. We've got. Oh, dang it! I'm now looking at the Tuesday. I'm gonna go look at the Friday. Go look at the weekend. Stanford and Oregon State. That is a Pac-12 matchup right there. Stanford's the number 9 team in the country. Oregon State's actually not ranked, but Stanford, Oregon State would be a good one to watch. Arizona, UCLA. Trying to see. Man, I wish it would. I would say Miami, Vatech, but Miami just hasn't shown anything yet. Oklahoma, TCU. That looks
Virginia
like a good one.
and North Carolina State play each other.
Clemson
They're
and
both
Duke,
ranked.
which I think Clemson might win this one, but Clemson and Duke.
TCU and Oklahoma. I don't know if Oklahoma's any good in baseball or not. Are they?
Oklahoma, they're not ranked right now, but they have been good.
Oklahoma State and Texas Tech are both ranked. They play this weekend.
That's true. Yep. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. And then I'm looking through, trying to see if I can spot some other ones. That would be Boston College is actually playing pretty well right now, and they travel down to Florida State this weekend. So that one actually might be a good one to watch. And then, as you said, Virginia at NC State. That one would be a really good one to look at. Georgia Tech is playing at Louisville. I think that one would be good. Notre Dame at Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest will be too much to handle for Notre Dame. I think they'll take that series there. Let me kind of scroll up to the earlier games. North Carolina Pitt. That's just a conference game. I don't know how well Pitt will be in baseball. North Carolina is kind of up and down right now. So that's this weekend here. I think that there will be a lot of good baseball going on.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's the opening for the SEC, and a lot of conference play and stuff is going on now. So baseball's really kind of getting to the meat of the schedule and stuff, and starting to pick up this time of year. So
yep, got 10 weeks of conference weekends. So 10 weeks, and then you get to the SEC tournament, which will be right here in Birmingham.
All right, I'm going to get to our prize picks, guys. We are now sponsored by Prize Picks. You can double your initial deposit by using our code CSCAST. If you use that code, up to $100, you can double that initial deposit. So if you put down $50, you can get $100 to play with. If you put down $100, you get to double that to $200 to play with. And it's a daily fantasy sports. You go on there, and there's 30 plus different sports that you can have some fun with. And I think $5 is the minimum. And again, you can do all this by using our code and helping us out as well and using our code CSCAST to double your deposit.
Hey, speaking of this, when we were talking about Friday night starters getting in and having bullpen day, Auburn has just put their Friday night starter, or last Friday night's starter, in as the ninth inning pitcher.
Yeah.
So he's getting his bullpen work.
Yeah, he's getting.
They've already thrown their closer. Auburn's already thrown the closer, or at least the guy that they had designated as the closer.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season. But yeah, they're throwing the guy that started last Friday night, and this is his first inning in, so he's already gotten one out in the first 3 pitches that he's thrown. So, yep.
All right. The next thing I'm going to get to is our home for troops. This, if you're looking for something to give to, this is for wounded vets, and they build homes and rebuild their lives. We've been doing this for 20 plus years. For every dollar that you give, 90 cents of that dollar goes towards rebuilding these homes, building homes for these injured and wounded vets. They will do that anywhere. If they're from Tennessee and want to move to New York, they will build them a home in New York. So we ask that you give to Home for Our Troops, and you can do that at www.hfotusa.org. Forgot where I was for a minute.
You forget where you are or what day it is.
I paused for just a second. Did you hear me?
You freeze a lot.
All right, so my closing thoughts is this. It's March Madness. I want to update Pitt and Mississippi State right now is at halftime in their play-in game. It's 35-34. So I want to update that before we get off the air. Again, A&M Corpus Christi beat Southeast Missouri in the first game of the NCAA tournament earlier tonight, 75-71, and they earned the spectacular right to go play Alabama on Thursday.
Go team.
And you heard it here first. Jason is saying Texas Southern, if they win tomorrow night, would have a chance against Purdue. That's a college sports cast.
Don't be surprised.
Extra take.
This would be the second 16 versus 1.
Yeah,
I think it's happened. It's only happened once, and it happened.
It's only happened once.
5?
They're 1 and 147.
I was like,
There's
they're
been
1 in
148.
every other year. It
No
never
doubt.
happened until a couple of years ago.
That's been 1985. The record I just put out was 85 because that's when it changed to seedings 1 through 16.
Right.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. So that's the record on that. I do want to get to, we are now on WSBN TV, and we appreciate anybody and everybody jumping on and catching us on WSBN TV.
Yep.
And our shows are College Sportscast on Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time and Sunday at 3 p.m. Central. And this Thursday night, we're going to have a special show. I'll let John take that.
Yeah, so Thursday night we've got Landrum Roberts of WJOX 94.5 here in Birmingham, and he does the morning jocks at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Central Time, and then has 3-man front from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Time. And yeah, he also does a lot of stuff with UAB, and he will talk. We will talk basketball, we'll talk baseball, we'll talk whatever.
Spring football. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah,
he can do it all.
He covers a lot of sports in the South. Of course, a lot of it's SEC, but let's do UAB and other things as well. So we're excited to have him on College Sportscast. And
This will
again,
be
you
his
can
second
catch that.
appearance.
Yep, you can catch that on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central.
Yes.
Until then, y'all have a good night. Enjoy March Madness.
Enjoy.